5, 4, 3, 2. Did it focus? My glasses are blurry.
I think so.
Okay.
I hope
5,
so.
4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Black Dream Podcast. Yes.
I'm in my
yes. Yeah, she's comfortable and cozy kind of day. It's gray outside, so these are one of Fox's favorite kind of days.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, I don't know, I'm not really good with plurals.
That's okay.
Like even with my voice acting stuff, I hate saying stuff like foxes or like decimals, tenths, hundredths. I hate or fractions. I'm sorry. It's a personal thing. But anyways, welcome back to another episode of the Black Dream Podcast.
Yay.
I am Miles. This is Fox. Thank you for joining us.
Yay.
Thank you.
You got your premium voice on today.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Premium. Got to make
the professional voice.
The more professional voice.
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't talk like that normally.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like when I think of professional voice, I think of like your code switch.
Like code switching.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm thinking professional in terms of like
voiceover.
getting hired.
Yeah. Anyways.
If you didn't know, Miles is a voiceover actor, artist.
There's so many different names. I'm a voice actor or voiceover artist.
Yes.
There's so many. Anyways, that I can put that in another video on my channel or whatever. But thank you guys again for joining us for the Black Dream Podcast. This is episode 2, I believe. Episode 2.
Yes.
Last episode we talked about when the ish hits the fan.
Yeah.
Dealing with all the things that are happening in the world, and it seems to be just all colliding at the same time.
Yes.
And it can just be overwhelming at times. But anyway, we're going to talk about one of our pillars or principles for this podcast and for the things that we're trying to accomplish on this channel and through the content that we're creating. We're actually going to be talking about wealth. And in my mind, I'm thinking about seeing like wealth to show up on the screen like
a rainbow.
Yeah, like a rainbow or something like that.
Well.
Reading is fun. Anyways, so we're going to be talking about wealth today.
Yes.
And so my first question to Fox is
I was like, who are you talking
to Fox is like, what is wealth to you?
So wealth. So if you didn't know, we're doing this the second time because the first time we did this video, what did it So was I not supposed to?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna bring that up.
Okay, because I'm trying to remember what I said, but we're just gonna go fresh.
Yeah,
so this is still gonna be fresh. To me, wealth is.
That's funny.
I think that a lot of people think wealth is just about money, but I think wealth is about more than just money. It's also about well-being. It's about mental health. It's about fitness. It's about really just being holistically well and not just like one, like, oh, you have a lot of money. Like that's not wealth.
Right.
I think that wealth is beneficial to the community around you. I think wealth is not just something to be hoarded. Mm-hmm. I think if a person is wealthy, so should their community or their immediate circle. And that's what I think wealth is. Wealth is about being well mentally, physically, spiritually, financially too. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you have like millions and billions of dollars.
Right.
That's what I think.
Yeah. For me, I think, or I define wealth, or I guess it's equivalent or equal to agency. So the ability to be able to do whatever you want to do. So you can, in regards to like finances, if you're wealthy, you're able to, do what you want to do. You don't have to worry about debt collectors or loans or anything like that. Like you're free and capable and have the agency, the power, the ability to do what you want to do, even if that's giving. Like as a wealthy person, which one day we will both be, you're able to freely give to people because you don't have to worry about, is this going to be a sacrifice or is this, am I going to compromise something else over here or over there? But like, no, I can freely give to you because like everything that I need, I have and it's flowing over, so I can give you out of, the wealth of that's what's in me. And I think that applies to other aspects of your life too, not only finances, but emotionally wealthy. Mentally wealthy, intellectually wealthy, like all of these things, like you have agency, you have this power to be able to provide for others, sustain yourself, and move around in space, not in space, but like, move around freely.
But I do want to say one thing about giving. I think that you should be able to give at any level, at any stage. So I have this rule where I don't give money unless I don't need it back. So I'm not letting people borrow money. I'm just going to give it to them because I don't. If I have it, I'm going to give it. Yeah. But I do feel like once you're wealthy, the amount that you can give increases, not the ability. I feel like we can give now. Like even if you don't have money, maybe you have time, maybe you have advice. or some other resource that somebody else could use. And so, but when you become wealthy, as in like financially wealthy, well, I mean, yeah, financially wealthy, you have more money and more time to give because you're more free. And I think that goes like with the definition of agency you gave. So
yeah, and I mean, I definitely agree because I mean, as believers and followers of Christ, you know, we're encouraged to give. On that point, I would say we're also encouraged to give cheerfully. And so I think a lot of times we can feel like God is wringing our arm to give, when that's not necessarily the case, and that's not necessarily what He wants us to do. Like He wants us to freely and cheerfully give. And so if you're not in that place, even if you don't have a lot, like you can have bills and debt and all that stuff, but if in your heart you're still like, no, I do want to give, I want to support this person, or I want to give to this ministry or whatever, however, like that's a heart issue. I think even with that, with giving, and I mean, this might be sidetracking a little tangent from our wealth conversation, but like giving, that definitely is a heart issue. Because, you know, we see that example with the parables with the older woman, we'll just say that, and like the Pharisees or whatever, like she gave like the last of what she had. And the other people, they gave a lot, but in comparison, you know, Christ was saying like, no, she gave more, you know, so like it's definitely a heart issue. And, you know, I think that's important. Definitely with wealth, you have the opportunity to probably give easier. Or, you know,
I wouldn't even say easier, because a lot of wealthy people are afraid to give money away. I feel like you said, I think it is about the heart issue.
Definitely.
Like, because whether it's a small, whether you have $5 or this person has $5 million, again, it is the heart of it. I think that really matters, because again, there are a whole bunch of, a few millionaires and billionaires who don't give money to anybody, who want to hoard it all for themselves because they're afraid of losing it, versus people who are poor giving money to their friends and family. I feel like that stuff does matter more to me.
That's true.
That the heart behind it is up here. So.
Most definitely.
So yeah.
Next question is, what did wealth look like to you when you were growing up?
I don't think I really knew what wealth was when I was growing up. Again, I had an idea of what it meant to be rich. I don't know. I think I had an idea of what it meant to be wealthy, or I think those were like interchangeable for me back then.
Right.
But I think as children, you don't really have a concept of money. Like you ask your parents for stuff because you think money is, what'd your parents say? You think money just grows on trees? It's like
green, ain't it? No,
right. But it's like, it's that same kind of, you know, childlike mentality. Was like, oh, this is my parents. Like literally my wealth comes from my parents, or what I need comes from my parents. Not that it comes from money.
Right. You
don't really realize that they're going to work for this money to pay for stuff for you. You don't really see it. So I think for me growing up, I didn't really have an idea of what wealth was. The only time that money was really brought up, I think, was when mommy was balancing checkbooks, when we couldn't do something because it cost too much, or like field trips. Like, I think that's the only time that money ever came up. It was like, oh, I need $5 for this field trip, or $7 for this field trip. Beyond that, I don't really have a need for anything. So.
I mean, I think I'm pretty sure that I've had the same experiences. You try to ask for something or do this, and like, that response, you know, this ain't cheap. Money don't grow in trees and stuff like that, which is true. And I mean, I would agree. As a child, I didn't necessarily think about wealth. Like, I think my earliest understanding of wealth may have been honestly, to be maybe like high school or college. And I think the first time I really thought about that, or really understood what the concept of wealth was, somebody explaining to me Oprah and her wealth. Like, because there's a difference. There's a difference between rich and wealthy. So like, there can be people who are rich and have flashy things, with the idea of like, this woman has so much and so much influence that like, it has impact on so many things. Like it's like, rich can be, I don't know, I think of rich can just be very vertical in a sense. And I feel like wealth can be a breadth of things. Like, it's just be really wide. It just covers a lot of stuff. It's like wide and deep. But rich is like, I have all this money, I can buy this nice car or whatever, but like, what does it go beyond that? Like if you have a tower of stuff that just tip over. And
I also feel like being rich is like temporary, like it's momentary.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Anybody could be rich at any point in time, but like wealth does, I feel like the roots grow deeper.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it has like foundational things. So I think it's that idea.
So like for me, I mean, even the idea of like money, like I vaguely remember in high school taking a class that was about like credit cards and like money and stuff like that. I don't remember anything from that class though. Like
I'm glad they offered that.
Yeah,
I don't even know if we had that.
Like I'm sure it helped, but at that time, I probably wasn't thinking about it. Like I wasn't considering like what am I going to do?
You're a broke college student,
right? Exactly. Before that, like in high school, I think it might have been like my senior year, like maybe senior or junior year, and so I don't necessarily have access to a lot of money. I'm not getting no credit cards, like. Yeah, no. And I mean, I get it, like the idea of like how can we try to make you aware of these things beforehand, which is I think very important. Like you should teach people about money, wealth, and things like that. Which, if you've ever read or heard of Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, he talks about that, how there are things that he learned from his rich dad that he didn't learn from his poor dad. And so that idea of like those who are rich and those who are wealthy, they teach these concepts and ideas to their family and to their kids. And like, that's how they continue to be rich. That's how the rich continue to be rich and the wealthy continue to be wealthy. Like it's passed down. But
and I think even to the point of wealth, like even the term generational wealth, like speaking about Black people specifically, we really haven't had an opportunity to build generational wealth. Yeah. So even this idea of wealth or building generational wealth, I feel like it's kind of like a privileged experience or a privileged thing. People are just trying to survive. Yeah. So if you're just trying to survive, then you really don't have any room to think about wealth and like future generations if you're worried about, oh, can I pay the bills today or tomorrow? Or are my kids going to eat tonight? You know, versus like, oh, let's, take this risk and buy this property and then we can, develop generational wealth. It's like, girl, we ain't got time for that right now. Yeah. Like we're just trying to eat dinner, So I think for a lot of people, I think for a lot of people now, like they're waking up to the idea of building wealth, but I do want to honestly honor the people who came before us because it's like, they did the best they could with what they had. Right, exactly, you know what I mean? And so if no one's teaching you how to manage your money, or if not even managing money, but if no one's telling you how to get more money rather than clocking in and out of jobs, then of course you're not going to know anything about it. And so I feel like a lot of other people groups have kind of like a shoe-in or they're kind of ahead of us, so to speak. With this information, and we're just playing catch up. Oh, yeah. So I feel like this generation and maybe the one before us is just now getting into like, oh snap, let's actually build some generational wealth for the future generations. Yeah, and I think it's sad because there have been examples of potential wealth building in the Black community that has been burned down, destroyed, and it sucks because like you mentioned playing catch up, which I think is true because again. If you have the idea of rich parents teaching their kids how to be rich or wealthy parents, whatever. And having the ability to keep things in their family. Right. With that, the ability to keep things in the family and then telling them the importance of keeping things in the family. Yes, that's true. I think of examples of, we're both very interested in, to some degree, I guess, the Gullah Geechee culture. And I know right now, to the best of my knowledge, that like, even for like Gullah Nation, a lot of they're struggling to keep their land, and it's a fight because they're it's stuff that has been passed down from generations to generations, and because of rising prices of the community around it, or gentrification, people, businesses and corporations trying to come in and buy the land, being colonized, right, and it can be hard for those who are further down, like say your great-great-grandson, to like, well, I have this piece of land, but it seems more of a headache. Yes. Than to continue to keep it in our family. And, because they also don't give them the resources to keep it. You see what I'm saying? So even if you talk about Black farming, that's something we've been looking into recently. How much land has been taken from Black farmers over the years? It's not just like, if you're giving someone an ultimatum and saying, hey, either you sell me your land or I'm going to take it from you eventually. Right. Some people do sell the land because it's like, well, okay. Or if they can't get a land loan to produce the crops for the next year, for the next season, they're going to lose money. And so therefore they're out of land, they're out of produce, they're out of money, and they have no choice but to leave. The same thing is happening all over the country. Right. Like if we live near DC or we live near DC or we actually lived in DC in Southeast DC. And, people are coming into being colonized. People are coming into those communities and saying, hey, I'll give you $1 million or not even $1 million. I'll give you $200,000 for this house.
Yeah.
They buy the house from these people. And for people who are disenfranchised, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. That's life-changing for a lot of people. And so for the people buying those homes, they then turn that house, like flip it or fix it up a little bit. Yeah. Now it's worth $5 million. Yeah. Now it's worth $2 million, right? Yeah. And so this $2 million house will be passed down to their kids and their kids and their kids. Yeah. And because people don't have, I know that people have choice, but really, when you're trying to survive, you don't have any money. Right. Somebody's offering $200 just to get out of there. Yeah. You're probably going to choose the $200. Yeah. It's not good long term, but in the moment of people trying to survive, for sure they'll probably take that money. And that's working against us.
Yeah, and I mean, it's very difficult to think long term when your short term is so shaky. It's definitely very, very, very difficult to do that, because I mean, I'm going to try to get back to what our questions are.
I mean, this is about wealth.
No, but even the idea of like, there's not always, but there's been pushback even during this pandemic about how people should use, one, if people should get a stimulus check, and two, how people should use it. Again, like,
leave people alone on their money.
Right, and however they want to use it. But, for some people, we'll say online and like entrepreneurial space or whatever, it's like, okay, you're getting $1,200. You need to use it to start a business. Well, it's hard to start a business if I got to pay rent, got to feed my kids, got to do all this stuff. But like, it's,
and if they don't have time because they're working 2-3 jobs, right? How are they gonna start a business?
Yeah, and so it can be very difficult and challenging. But I think that's why it is important how you mentioned that one, those who came before us are, I don't even want to say ancestors. Like, I mean, our ancestors, yes, but I'm thinking about like our parents, our great grandparents. So they're not. I don't think they're ancestors yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, they haven't.
Not for a long time.
Yeah. So they haven't. But the people, our people who have come before us.
Yes.
Very thankful for what they did and teaching us the skills that we need to survive and thrive the best that we can. Mm-hmm. But I think it is also important that at this point in time we are trying to have these conversations about wealth, about legacy and things like that to build up. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important because, like you said, we're playing catch up and we're trying to establish ourselves. We're trying to have, something that a lot of other nations and cultures and races have. But when we try to do it, it's a problem. It's a problem, and it's been
for everybody else. It's a problem,
right. And so I think it is important for us to focus on that, to talk about that, and see how can we build up our community and build up our people.
And the hope is that our kids will be in a better place than we are. Right. Hopefully, again, I'll take the knowledge my parents gave me. Mm-hmm. I'll take the knowledge I'm learning, firsthand, give them to my kids, so they don't have to be in the negative when they're growing up. Right. Don't take out a loan. Don't take out the student loan. Lord God, please start a business instead, or do something, study something that you know is going to give you some return. And you don't have to go to a prestigious college to get the information. Nobody cares about the degree, unless you're doing super fancy things. Nobody cares where you get. Can you do the thing? Yeah. Can you do it well? Mm-hmm. Okay, here's my money. Just do it for me. So anyway.
Yeah, I know. So next question is what?
Sorry, it's excitement. Next question.
What does wealth look like to you now?
Ooh, wealth looks like to me being debt free, being financially free, meaning being debt free, but also being free enough to have enough time and resources to share with other people. Because I don't feel like wealth is supposed to just be something that I'm supposed to hoard. I feel like it's supposed to be for the benefit of other people. So if I have enough money where I can live comfortably and give the rest away in whatever way, helping someone start a business, helping someone pay for college, helping someone pay their rent. To me, that's wealthy. But also, again, going back to my previous definition, I think that wealth is about being in good physical health, is about being in good mental health, spiritual health, communal health. Mm-hmm. Again, community is everything. So if you're the only one who's rich in your own circle of friends, there's a problem. There's a problem because they should be up there with you. You all should be wealthy together. Yeah. But I feel like wealth to me looks way different than what I thought it did when I was younger. I thought, again, that it was interchangeable with rich. I don't think that it's just rich now. I think that it's really about being well and having good practices to obtain that wealth, right? So not oppressing other people, not undercutting, you know what I'm saying? Underpaying people. So stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think for me, it kind of goes back to the definition that it looks like agency, but just access and mobility. And so like you mentioned, community and relationship. I think if you're wealthy, you have good relationships with people. There's some people who have a lot of money or a lot of whatever, but they don't have no friends.
And that's not wealth.
Yeah, that's not good. You hit hard times, for example, the pandemic hits. and you need somebody to help you out, in whatever regard, whether it's financially or like for us, we like moved. I'm glad that we have good friends that can help us move, because if not, we would either been shelling out for movers, or it would have just been a very, very long, sad, hard process.
Sad.
To
Very,
move
very sad.
from one place to the other. And so like relational capital in itself is wealth. So being able to have that power to maneuver in various aspects.
And people undervalue that. And I think that's sad, and it's detrimental to our community.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that as Black folk, historically, we have always been a communal people.
Yeah.
We have always lived in community. And we talked about this with our other friends. We talked about multi-generational living, meaning you're in a house with your grandmother and you got your kids in a house, and it's beneficial to your community because no one's out there on their own having to bear the burden or the weight of, paying rent or mortgage or having to put food in the pantry. Yeah. We're coming together with the wealth of our own resources. Yeah. And so for a lot of people in Western societies, it's very individualistic. Like, you got to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. You got to do it on your own or hustle until you die. And you can hang out with your friends later when you're rich and wealthy. Yeah. And so people miss out on living an actual life because they're chasing a dollar. Yeah. And what they have to realize is that they're more valuable than that. And I feel like that's a part of wealth. Understanding that your worth is not in how much money you have in your bank account, how many properties you own. It's not in any of that stuff. If you're no good to anybody else beside you or near you, you're not wealthy. It's like, good for you. Like, you have money. What else do you have? Right. Like, and I will say, money does answer a lot of problems. Oh, yeah. However, it doesn't answer all of them. Right. You see what I'm saying? And so, like Miles said, moving or just calling a friend because you're mourning and you need to spend time with them, or taking care of your mother, like whatever it is that is for you or that is around you at the time, that stuff is a wealth of resources. Oh, yeah. So yeah, definitely. So, I mean, it doesn't always have to look flashy or anything like that, because again, that's not real money anyway. Yeah. People who are really rich don't have to be flashy. Yeah. And so, I think I definitely agree with you about being debt free and like not having to owe anybody anything, so that you can have the freedom, the power, the agency again to maneuver throughout life and throughout the world, however you see fit. Mm-hmm. Next question is, why do you think wealth is important? Wealth is freedom. Wealth is community. Wealth is wellness. Like, wealth is important because I feel like, especially for Black people specifically, we have not had it. We have not had it. And I feel like until we obtain wealth, we won't be free. We won't be liberated. Yeah. We'll always be tied down by debt or, by the powers that be. And so once we become wealthy, then we know that, because I feel like Black people are at the bottom of the bottom. Mm-hmm. If we are wealthy, then things have been either made right or are on their way to being made right. I don't know if we'll ever reach there. That's a whole other conversation. Yeah. But I do feel like wealth is important because, and I also feel like wealth is important because why not? You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, that's a weird question, because it's like, would I rather be wealthy or would I rather struggle? Mm-hmm. Would I rather be ignorant? Would I rather be oppressed? Would I rather be owned? You know what I'm saying? No, I'd rather be wealthy. And I feel like, again, with wealth comes freedom. Freedom of choice, freedom of, again, bondage, financial bondage, and freedom to choose, like, to give money away to other people, to support different things. And also, sorry. No, you're fine. So wealth to me also means being able to separate, again, yourself from how much money you have in your bank to determine what your worth is. Does that make sense? So people who are wealthy, they sleep at night. They're not worried about that. We're worried, like we're scratching and like we got to try to put together a couple of dollars to do X, Y, and Z things that have to be paid. And I feel like until we have that liberation, we won't know what real peace is. We won't know what real joy is. Even though I feel like you can still have those things without a lot of money, but wealth as in well-being. Yeah. I think that's important. Yeah, no, I mean, the reason I asked that is because, depending on who you ask, everybody's perspective or perception of wealth isn't the same. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people demonize wealth, But I think wealth is good for, if you're wealthy, your community should be wealthy, and therefore we all rise up. Sure, so sure. No, I'm not disagreeing with you. No, yeah. But I'm saying the people who, it's like, demonize wealth are the rich, because that's a difference. Well, it depends, because again, like some people, they're not the same. Those who are rich and those who are wealthy are not the same. But like we were just talking about, you can be wealthy in a very dictionary definition kind of sense. And like you mentioned about like moral character and like you're helping your community and stuff like that. Like you can be helping your community of other wealthy people. Okay.
You get what I'm saying? So like,
okay. Well, to me, that's not wealth then.
Well,
that's
but that you know, that's what I'm saying. So like, even if you can ask 100 people, well, what does wealth mean, or what does wealthy mean, and some people can look at it.
And that's just my definition.
Yeah.
I do think that to be wealthy, you should be a person of good character.
Right.
Beyond means and all this other stuff, like your character should be A1.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what I was asking, because like, why is wealth important? Because some people feel like it's not. Like I can deal without it. Like I don't want to. Whether they interchange wealth and being rich the same, and they see it as a negative, it's like, no, I don't want to be that, because if I do become wealthy, or if I do become rich, now I'm going to become one of those bad people.
And that's why the heart has to be pure first, because again, you can be rich and you can be wealthy and you can give to other people. Right. But again, if those people's hearts are crooked, or if they have some sort of trauma, you know, I think about people who, you know, have been poor all their life, and then all of a sudden they win the lottery, all the money's gone. It's like, how did this happen? Yeah. And for a lot of people, it's because, one, they don't know money management, but also it's also like, I'm trying to live my best life. I had to suffer all these years. I'm going to have a great time. Right. When no one is telling them, hey, you can invest your money here. This is how you make your money last longer. This is how you make your money work for you. Yeah. And again, it's also about the resources that weren't available in our own communities. Yeah. This stuff was just not readily available. Yeah. You know what I mean? Until they put it in a book or a program, and sometimes the program is too expensive. We can't opt into it. Yeah. It's not until we brought that stuff back to our own communities that we were able to say, oh, snap. Like, I can actually do something with this, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, with that, like, wealth, to me, wealth is important because, again, it gives you the power and the agency to impact not only your life, but the life of others. Yes. Like, it positions you so that you can go and serve other people. Like, you know, that it's just beneficial overall. And I think, again, that's why it's important for it should be a topic of discussion, I think, in communities and households and things like that. Just personally too, like, what are we doing to build wealth? What are we doing to better understand wealth? How to be wealthy? You know, all those topics are important. And, you know, if we're not focusing on that, if we're distracted by other things, if we're focused on trying to be rich, or if we're focused on things that are just distractions, that's not going to help us in the long run, you know. But it can be difficult, like we said. You know, if you're worried about today, it's hard to think about tomorrow, you know.
Just like the scripture said, worry about today, because tomorrow has enough worry of its own. Yeah. And that's for some people, they can't think that far. Yeah.
Next and last question that I have is, what is and why is generational wealth important?
Ooh, what is generational wealth? Mm-hmm. The way that I understand it is wealth that you can carry down from generation to generation. So things that have been in the family for a long time, assets, so maybe property, businesses, things like that you can pass down from your kids to their kids to their kids, and that they can either flip and make bigger or better, or just having the ability to give your kids or your grandchildren a good footing to stand on. Yeah, I feel like it's important because I feel like every generation should be better than the previous generation that came before them. I want my kids to be better than me. I want my kids to do better than me. I don't want them to struggle with the same things I struggled through. So I'm hoping that I have something, whether it's wisdom, whether it's people I know, or resources, or money that I can pass down to my kids. Because even if I give them that money and they don't have the wisdom, it's going to be gone. Yeah. Like, there's no point. Yeah. And I've also seen people having things passed down from generation to generation. When someone passes away, the whole family fractures. It's this big thing. They're fighting over property and money. And it's so silly and simple, when really, if we just came together and figured out how to actually make this work in our favor so that we all benefit, you know, that's a whole other conversation. Yeah. But I do feel like with the assets, you have to give wisdom. So I'm hoping that in the future, our future generations will have that wisdom and the wealth to be able to have a great start and to be able to give their kids something. Yeah. So I feel like it's important, again, because it brings all people up. And I do feel like every generation should become better than the previous generation that came before them. Yeah. No, I 100% agree that, you know, generational wealth is, again, using that same definition, it is power or agency being passed down to the next generation. And, like the idea of like a stepping stone almost, like what you're passing down is helping the next person get farther along, or even to you know, have the ability to go farther or go where God wants them to be, you know, because it sucks when you have to start from zero, you know, but if you can have somebody help you to start from 5 or 10 or whatever, you know, trying to get to 100, it's better, you know. But, you know, I think a lot of times
for our community, it can be the opposite. I'm starting
Below.
negative. I'm starting in the
Below
negative, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, now I'm trying my best to just get above water, and but focusing on generational wealth and how can I better position my children, my grandchildren, my great-great-grandchildren to be
The baby.
to be further along, to accomplish the things that God has for them, or to continue to influence our community and influence family, whatever. Like I think that's important, like being able to pass that power and that agency on and on and on and on and on. So.
And just imagine if every person in our community was passing down generational wisdom and wealth.
Mm-hmm.
That would just create like these trees of connecting trees, the system where all people are brought up.
Yeah.
And so I feel like a lot of people are changing the world with their children. And you have the power to change your child's world and therefore the world around them and how they view the world based on what wealth and wisdom you give your kids.
Yeah. So as we wrap up this episode, just wanted to share real quick the definitions from dictionary.com of what wealth is.
Official.
Right. It's a noun, so
Yes.
that's important. But the first definition is a great quantity or store of money, valuable possessions, property, or other riches. Second, an abundance or profusion of anything, plentiful amount. 3, economics. All things that have a monetary or exchange value. Anything that has utility and is capable of being appropriated or exchanged. 4, rich or valuable contents or produce. 5, the state of being rich, prosperity, affluence. And number 6, which I think Fox will like, obsolete. Well, obsolete is the obsolete definition, but happiness. So again, I think these
I
are
like that definition.
yeah.
I like that.
So this is a pillar of the Black Dream podcast. It's a pillar to something that
One of them.
One of the pillars.
Yeah.
Of what we're trying to build here on our channel and on our platform because we think it'll be beneficial to our viewers and more specifically to our Black community because again that's really one of our big focuses.
And it's something we're trying to achieve ourselves. We're trying
definitely.
to become wealthy in every regard.
Right.
And we're trying to do the work to get there.
Yeah.
And we'll be chronicling it and sharing it with you guys. And hopefully you can be encouraged and inspired to do the same thing. In your own way.
Yeah.
No, it's no race.
No.
It's about long term.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks again, guys, for tuning in to another episode of the Black Dream Podcast. It's episode number 2.
Yay.
Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the little notification bell thing
Share with
on
someone
YouTube.
You might want to
and if you're listening on podcasts, go and leave us a review on iTunes so that we can, see and hear that you like the show.
And it helps it get found.
Yeah, and it helps it to get found. So thank you guys again for continuing to support us. Special shout out to all of our patrons out there. We really, really, really appreciate you guys. Until next time, be safe. Much love. God bless.
Bye.